In this stair video, we're going to take a look at how to control the display of details for your stairs in the plan view, including your arrows, the tread detail, brake line, the transparency of your stairs, also how your stairs look like on the floor above or the floor below. And then we'll also look at a couple of tips on your stairs for adding trim pieces to your stair landings to match into your stringers, and how to, in 3D, view the floor below or turn that off from seeing the floor below. Let's go into the program and take a look at how to do these things. I'll begin in the video with the directional text for the stairs, including the arrows. When you open up the stair dialog, there is a panel for arrows. It's the bottom panel here, and you can choose to include an arrow or exclude the arrow. If I include the arrow, it will accept defaults. Your stairs have defaults. You can set that in your template or your profile plan. And if you find you always like a certain style of arrow, you can set that in your profile plan and you won't have to change it. If you want to override it from your profile plan, you can remove the default check mark, come in and choose a different style for your arrow. You can also change the fill color. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and make a change to that, and also with the text you can change the default as well. Now there are two ways to turn the directional text on and off. Back in the stair dialog, you notice that there is an include arrow that will turn off that information. If I undo that, there is also a layer that controls that. If you want to leave it on for certain views in your plan, you can use the object or the object layer properties and come in and you can turn on the arrow layer, and that will turn the control of that on or off based on a layer or a layer set that you may have. Let's talk about the control for the font for that information. Let's turn that layer back on. Text arrows and ramp information are controlled through a text style. If you want to control the way that looks, right now text is using a default text style. If you want to change that, of course, you can edit your default text, and that has the information here. I'm simply going to change the text style that is being used for the stairs to 1/2 inch text. Again, if you want to control the way that that text font looks, you can come in, choose the font, choose the height, and other information about that. The text color is being controlled by layer. Accept that. That layer color is right here, so if you want to change the layer color of it, you can come in here and change the layer color for your text, and then you can see the way that looks. I would need to go back in and change the arrow color if I wanted that to match the text color that we just set up. I'm just going to simply undo that operation and set it back to the way it was before we began, and I'll turn the layer back on. You can also see that it affects the directional text on the floor above as well with the down and directional arrow. If you want to change the text of the information for your stair, if you wanted that to say down, you actually have to use your text tool, and you can come in here, use your text, and I'll just come in here and we'll reposition that. If I wanted to turn that off, that layer off, again, I could just simply select the stairs, which have to be selected on the floor below. And now you have the ability to control that information. And again, if you wanted to use your own arrow, you could come in here and draw your own arrow on that as well, and just include your arrow style. I'll just select a filled arrow style. Go ahead and select the color that you want. And I might also put that on the arrows layer for stairs. That way it's associated and it's easy for me to remember which layer that's on. And I would do the same thing for the text as well. I'd put that on the same layer to make it easy for me to remember. Find that underneath the line style. Again, I would just find the stairs, arrows, and text. And that way when I have that layer on and off, I can turn that on. Now notice when we select the stairs and go into the object layer properties, the stairs, arrow, and text indicator is no longer available. That's because in the stair panel itself, we have excluded that information, so it's no longer available. But you can access that layer through the layer settings. Simply come down, find that layer for stair arrows, turn it on. It doesn't display on the main floor because we didn't draw anything, but on the second floor it will now show that information, and you can then position it as you need to for that layer display. The next topic for the video is being able to display your tread overhang information. And you'll notice in my diagram on my plan view I have a dashed line and a solid line which represents the tread and then where the riser intersects it and you get the overhang. That information is on a layer. If you select your stairs, use your object layer properties, there is a layer called stair and ramp details. I currently have that turned on. You can control the line style for that and the color. If I turn that layer off, you'll notice that that information is now abstracted and you can't see it. So all that is a layer that you need to turn on for your stair and ramp details. And again, if you want to change the color and the line style of that, you can do that in the dialog and choose the different line styles for that. You can now display break lines for your stairs. Notice in my diagram I have a break line. There is a gap. This enables you to be able to see underneath of the stairs. You can select and control this gap. It's difficult to see on your screen, but there is a move handle right in the middle of this, and you can pull that back and make the adjustments. In the stair dialog panel, there is a break line panel. You can control the style of the break, the distance, which I just adjusted manually, the break line angle, the gap, and then the symbol size. There are also control settings for the current floor. I'm on floor 1 in this case. And then you can also control the way that the stair looks on the floor above. And you can control that. You'll get a preview in your panel over here. You can see what it looks like. Again, if you want to control it on the floor above, you won't be able to see that in the panel here because it's on the floor above. Go ahead and take a look at the way it does look on the floor above. Let's go up. And again, you can see that the break line adjustment controls it on both the main floor and the floor above. Now suppose I want to turn the break line off with the stair and show a transparency. There is a fill style, and currently I have mine set to solid, and I'm going to set the transparency to be, let's say, 50%. That allows you to still see through your stairs. If you don't want to use a break line, you can see the information below your stairs. If you have storage, or in this case I have a powder room in here, and setting that transparency allows you to see those objects below the stairs. When you create stairs with a landing, they typically will not have a molding on them as a default when they are created with the automatic stair tool. You'll notice in my 3D view that I already have a molding on there. Let's go through the process of how that works. I'm simply going to remove my moldings off of here, and I'm going to go through the process so you can see how that looks. Back in the floor plan view, I'm going to use, on this case, a wall elevation tool, and I'm going to take a wall elevation of my stair detail. You can see my landing, you can see my stringer. There's a few different ways you could create your molding in here. I'm actually just going to use the backsplash tool typically used for maybe a shower or a backsplash in a kitchen. Custom backsplash, I'll come in and create the size of the molding, line it up with the stringer best I can, and I'm just going to zoom in and make the fine-tune adjustment. I'm going to hold down my control key, and then I'm also going to pull that down to match it. I'm not sure exactly of the thickness of that stringer. Let's open up the backsplash. Currently that's set to be 3/4 of an inch. If it's different, you could come in here and change that. As far as matching the materials, I'm going to use a material eyedropper, pick up the stringer, and adjust that material. You can see in plan view I have that molding. Let's go back into the plan view, take the back clip cross section, and I want to see the entire stair. We'll zoom in. Again, I'm going to use the exact same tool, the custom backsplash tool, and we'll just do the same thing. You can actually see my custom backsplash from the other wall. I'm going to go ahead and overlap that. Just pull it across, zoom in and make the final adjustments. Pull that down to the platform. And with this transition in here, I want to have this nice and smooth, so I'm going to select the backsplash. I'm going to use the brake tool down in the lower menu. You can also press number 3 on the keyboard. And I'm just going to create a brake in here, pull this diamond down until it snaps onto the top. And now I have a nice smooth transition in there. Again, I'll use the eyedropper, pick up the material off of the stringer, and apply that onto the backsplash. In 3D, you can see our molding, and what I might do for those two moldings, I'm going to actually put these on the same layer as my stairs. That way, if I need to make changes, it's easy for me to do what I call layer management. I'm just going to go ahead and put those on the stair and ramps. That way, they're part of that object and that information. Notice, if you can see this in the 3D, that my materials on that molding for the landing are going vertical. I don't want to see my wood grain going that way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Adjust Materials Definition tool. I'm going to select that and determine that that is the material called birch honey, and I'm going to create a copy of that by going into my 3D materials and plan materials, finding that birch. I'm going to make a copy of it, and what I want to do is I want to create a copy that is 90 degrees rotated for that particular molding. So I'm just going to change the angle on the texture, which is what you see in the 3D here. Press Tab. Notice that it changed direction. If you use patterns such as for backsplashes, you'd also want to change this as for your line drawing, that angle as well. And I'm going to also make one more copy of it, which I can use for the stringer. Notice my stringer wood grain is going up and down. I'm going to set this at either 45 or 135 depending on the direction. Again, on my pattern, I'll just set that at 135, and on the texture, again, I'm going to rotate that so that it's at that 45 or 135 degree angle. Now that I have those two materials added into my plan materials, I can simply open up the material painter and then choose those materials, in this case the birch 90 that we created, and I can apply that onto that molding we created for the stairway. Now I also have a material that we created called the 135 or the 45 degree angle. Again, it kind of depends on which way the original material goes. This is also applied to the risers, and I don't have control over that. If that is important, notice that it's still okay here, but if I zoom in, apply that material, it will change it in some cases on the risers as well. And if you need an exact one, I'd have to create maybe a backsplash or a polyline solid to get that right view for that wood grain. Now the final tip I want to show you about stairs. There are times when you're in your 3D view and you see your stairs below in 3D, and most times you want to be able to see the stairs below in 3D. Notice that you can still see the entire room in 3D, which I have invisible walls here. There may be times when you're in this overhead view style that you don't want to see the rooms below. You can control that setting in your defaults underneath your camera setting for general camera. You can open that up. There is an option down here called Show Lower Floors in Floor Overviews. I'll remove that, and I will need to regenerate my 3D camera view. Let's go ahead and go up to floor 2, regenerate the camera view, and now you don't see the room below, and when you do look through, you don't see the stairs in that area. You can control that again through your default settings. Defaults are plan specific and not global specific for your other plans. There were a number of things that we talked about in this video. One is being able to control your arrow style. You can do that through the stairs or layers. You can also create your own text. Talked about the ability to show your riser information and through a dashed line through your layers and your stair options. We also talked about how the brake line can control your stairs. You can select that, you can pull it back, you can make adjustments, and in the stair settings you can control exactly the way the brake line information looks in your plan. I briefly touched on the transparency fill for the stairs, being able to add a stringer on your landing and how that works using a custom backsplash in this case, and then finally how to be able to control your stairwell from the floor above when you want to see certain things, if you want to control your room view and that information. Well, thanks for watching the video. Remember, we have great help available in the program. We have support articles on our website, and also don't forget we have other stair videos that will help you be successful in creating great looking stairs. Thanks for watching.